Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoia here from the SoonersGroup.com studios. OU Texas Wednesday. You can check out the unofficial 40. We've recorded that with Josh McCuistion and Carrie Murdoch as per usual. And getting into it, man, this is obviously a great week, a great time to be a part of SoonersGroup.com. I know that, George, you have a couple of really cool stories coming up, and you can take advantage of a Sooner Scoop, special flash sale here going into OU Texas weekend down in Dallas. 50% off an annual subscription, promo code BOOMER. All you got to do is go to SoonersScoop.com, sign up, annual subscription, 50% off, promo code BOOMER. You got a couple really cool stories coming out. Obviously, Michael Hawkins is going to be making a little bit of history come Saturday when he's the first true freshman to start. There's been 6 redshirt freshmen that have played in this game at the Cotton Bowl for Oklahoma before, and you've talked to a couple of them, most notably Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
Ever heard of him? As well
Eddie
as
helped me out there.
Justin Fuente as well.
Yeah, talked to Sam this
Team Collins.
Yeah. I talked to Sam this morning. He was awesome. Gave me some really good perspective. He's also watched Michael the last couple weeks.
Sure.
I know he was at the Tennessee game,
Yeah.
so he kind of saw him in that game, but he's been really impressed by him. Justin Fuente, who obviously was a guy that helped win the 1996 game, which was a huge upset in the game for Oklahoma. Also, went on to be the head coach at Virginia Tech. Good offensive mind. He gave some good perspective. And then Tink Collins, who I think a lot of Oklahoma fans maybe aren't even familiar with, was the first ever redshirt freshman to start in the game in OU Texas in 1989. And he's still very connected with the Oklahoma program. So he gave some good perspective. So, yeah, really good story. Great time to sign up. I know we've had a lot of other content this week, too. The availability report will be out tonight, Wednesday night. And you can check for other updates on guys like Deion Burks, Taylor Tatum, their availability on the Crimson Corner. I know you and I also did some fun threads this week. Joe Cook came over. That was a really good thread, him answering questions from the Texas point of view. We've been on Inside Texas today answering some questions. So great time to sign up at On3.
No doubt. No doubt about it. You can see it back here. 50% off the annual membership. Just use the promo code BOOMER if you are so inclined to sign up. And you're probably wondering, what are you guys doing on another Wednesday, another special edition? We've had Paul Feinbaum heading into the Tennessee game. Obviously, the outcome didn't go so well for Oklahoma, but I thought that there was no better person to holler at going into OU Texas, going into Dallas. One of my favorite things on Friday afternoons is getting down there, turning on the ticket in Dallas and listening to the Hardline when Coach Switzer comes on. Everybody, check out Dave Wilson, ESPN.com's article on
Amazing.
Coach Switzer, simply put the king. But we got one of his buddies on, the great Corby Davidson from the Ticket down in Dallas, the Hardline 3 to 7 down there daily. And a really good conversation. A big OU fan, a member of the Crimson Corner, the SoonersGroup.com, and it's always good to catch up with Corby and kind of talk OU football and everything that comes with it.
He's great. Gives good perspective, I think, too, because living in Dallas, he's kind of in that in-between land, and he understands what this rivalry means to so many people. But great conversation with Corby, and I've never really met him.
Yeah,
I think maybe a couple times in passing.
We'll have to change that this weekend.
I know he's just a good dude.
Absolutely. So without further ado, for a special edition here on SoonersGroup.com YouTube channel, our conversation with the snake, Corby Davidson. We'll see you on Thursday. Now welcoming in a man that I'm sure Oklahoma fans know, especially in the DFW area where we're headed down this weekend for the 120th playing of the Cotton Bowl, the OU Texas game. Corby Davidson from the Ticket, the Hardline 3 to 7. Corby, this is a big one. Obviously, it always is. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us today. Let's start here. Obviously, Oklahoma fan. I think that there's a lot of people that watch the YouTube that are on the Crimson Quarter know about your fandom with Oklahoma. Just in terms of, there was a great article with Coach Switzer. One of my favorite things, OU Texas weekend, is getting down to Dallas and then flipping on the Hardline on Friday afternoons because Coach Switzer comes on. That's some of the best radio of the year. Just kind of talk about your relationship with Coach Switzer. I know Dave Wilson from ESPN.com had an awesome story about him today, but I think anybody that follows OU football, they know the king. You have a great relationship with the king, though. What's it like, I guess, off the air with Coach Switzer?
I mean, it's exactly what you would think. Like, there's no Barry is Barry. Like, he's always been the exact same guy, whether there's a microphone in front of his face or a beer in his hand or sitting on the couch. I mean, he's just the same dude. all the time. ADD is just running wild at all times, and he's going a million miles an hour. But yeah, I mean, I was up there for the Tennessee game. I was telling you guys right before we went on the air, and Dave Wilson was still working on the article, and he was in Barry's house at the time, and so got to catch up. He was telling me about everything that went into the article, and Barry's over there cussing him out and, and just laughing. And Barry's great. I feel very lucky that I've gotten to know him through the years, since he was coach with the Cowboys, and because I didn't know him before that.
Sure.
And he got to the Cowboys about the same time that I started working here at the Ticket, and I wore an OU hat to practice one day, and it was just I didn't even think anything of it. In like 94, 95, and had an OU hat on, and during his press conference and right after the press conference, he's like, "Hey, come here," and asked me about my hat, and from then on out, it was, we've been buds, so it's been great.
Do you guys have to bleep him or put him on delay when you guys get him on the show?
He knows. So
Okay.
Barry is very adroit at we like to call undercussing. So he's not going to drop like F bombs or S bombs,
Yeah.
but it's just a barrage of hell, damn, crap, bitch, just your typical kind of low level cuss words. I think he's cussed a couple of times. We've been on the air, dropped a couple of them, but he's pretty good about toning it down.
I think he had several F bombs in that ESPN article.
He likes the word.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about that. You said it. You were up here for the Tennessee game. That's kind of been like the turn of the season, just in terms of what Oklahoma was or wasn't offensively.
Yeah.
It was obviously the atmosphere, everything that went into the game was awesome. There had to be a change at quarterback. What have you liked here over the last couple of weeks with Michael Hawkins? I know that they got an uphill battle going into the game on Saturday, but I think there's some hope coming out of the bye week that maybe they can find something and find some success with Michael Hawkins at quarterback in Dallas on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they had the bye week. I love what I've seen so far. He's incredibly dynamic, and I think he's going to be a nightmare moving forward. Once if they change offensive coordinators, if they change schemes, or maybe if Seth Luttrell figures things out and the offensive line does, I don't know. But moving forward, they've got a dude. I'm pretty convinced of that. Just from a leadership standpoint, I mean, obviously the athleticism pops off the screen or on the field if you're there. There's no denying the talent, but he seems to have a quality about him that not a lot of guys have at that age. And it's been a long, long time since we've seen a kid just kind of roll in to Norman and be thrown into the fire like this. Typically, since Stoops took over, these guys have been given a year or two to kind of get their act together. I guess Bradford was a redshirt freshman, wasn't he, when he stepped in there?
Yep.
Yeah. So Hawkins is, I mean, it's completely unfair, but it was also completely necessary. I was kind of calling for it a couple of games prior to my friends. I'm like, dude, there's just something wrong
Yeah.
with Jackson and his decision making. So I was and it was, if you were in the stadium at the time, you felt it. I mean,
Sure.
it had to be done. It had to be done, and it was done, I guess, at the right time. And yeah, I'm excited. Look, I don't have any expectation level as far as what's going to happen this Saturday. Just because I think it's, you got a kid on the other side that's played in a million football games and had the same coordinator forever and all that. So it's the odds are stacked way against him, but I certainly wouldn't bet against the guy.
Corby, on the other side, what do you make of the job that Brent Venables has done with that defense? Because it's been a long time since we've seen this good of a defensive unit from Oklahoma. I think it's pretty remarkable the job he's done in just 3 years.
Yeah, and I would take that. It's funny because we all of us, you guys, everybody, were saying the same things, like, um, during whether it was Baker or Kyler or Jalen or Kayla, whoever. We're like, oh my God, if we could just get a defense in here, if we just get any type of defense in here, well, now you have it, and you got what you wish for. You do anything for a defense like this, and now you don't have an offense. So it's kind of funny, but yeah, I would take this 100% over, because it seems like it was almost in the last 10 years, it was almost impossible in our minds that there could be a defense like this, even though Oklahoma traditionally was built on defense. It just seemed like it was so bad for so long, and you had to score 45 points to win games that it was never going to happen. So I'm fine with this trade-off right now because I think offensively, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, they're going to figure it out. I think it's easier to put together, to find a coordinator, to find a system offensively than to build the defense from nothing, which is what Venables has done. And yeah, it's awesome to see it. It just keeps you in games. You think about, I heard Joel Klatt told us, he was like, Oklahoma would have won 5 straight national championships if they would have had this defense, which is like, oh, great, thank you, good to hear. But it's still a nut kick. But yeah, it's awesome. They got playmakers, they've got size, they've got speed, they've got what seems like a very sound scheme, and they're not making idiotic plays. I mean, there's been a couple of busts, Tennessee, Auburn, that's going to happen. But overall, it's been awesome to see.
It's been incredible. And,
Yep.
Especially considering a bunch of the guys that will be playing as, the kind of the elder statesmen of this defense, they were here at the start of it all, whether it be Danny or Billy Bowman or Ethan Downs. A lot of these guys, Woody Washington, they were part of some really bad defenses at Oklahoma going into the game Saturday. It's interesting, and certainly for us on the north side of the Red River, just in terms of what we've seen from Texas, I think that, I don't know if it makes Oklahoma fans feel a little bit better about the game, even knowing that they're double-digit underdogs going into Saturday, that maybe Texas, they haven't played a whole lot of people. You would think Oklahoma defensively is going to be the best defense they've played, maybe outside of Michigan and a certain select number of players from that side of the ball. But at the same time, it's like, maybe you can find ways, and especially in this game, as weird as it is, year in and year out, 9 of the last 10 years being one-score games, to find enough stops. What have you made of Texas, just in terms of what that program is under Steve Sarkisian? I think it's like in the back of everybody's brain when he took over, is like maybe he's going to fall next in line on the sword that got so many of those Texas coaches before him. It seems like that thing's moving in the right direction. Obviously, getting to a semifinal a year ago, they're the number 1 ranked team in the country going into this one for the first time in 40 years. It's been kind of incredible to watch. And like, aside from that too, I kind of like Steve Sarkisian. He seems like a very likable guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely had his problems, at other places,
Sure.
but he got the second chance with Saban, and he's made the most of it. And yeah, I don't mind him either. It's weird. I don't dislike him. He doesn't rub me the wrong way like a
Sure.
lot of their
Herman,
other
it was
former
like, this
coaches,
guy's
like
an
Tom
asshole.
Herman.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, like I couldn't stand Tom Herman, but Sark is. It's interesting. I mean, they're obviously on the right trajectory, but I go back to last year, and there were 4 games they were one play away from losing.
Sure.
Beyond, and they were one play away from winning the OU game too, obviously. So it works both ways. They figured out ways to win the Houston game where they got lucky on a really, really bad spot by the refs. The Kansas State game where you're like, what are you doing, K-State? With they're in overtime, or I can't remember if it was right before overtime. The TCU game. I mean, they got away with a lot last year. And if they had lost 3 games or 4 games or whatever it would have been, they're not going to make the playoffs. I wonder where they would be right now as far as national perception goes. They were really close to losing 3-4 games. So I'm still not completely sold. I'm not 100% all there. I think they're a really good team. They're obviously very well coached. They've got a couple of great quarterbacks. They've got speed everywhere on the outside offensively. I don't know what their defense is like, to be honest with you, because they haven't really played anybody. As weird as it is, Oklahoma may be the best offense that they played. I don't, that sounds ridiculous to even say, but just from the amount of playmakers that Oklahoma does have. I mean, Michigan couldn't throw the football.
Yeah.
They literally, and they still can't.
Sure.
They're not good. Michigan is going to lose 5 games maybe this year. I don't know. I just don't think that they're good at all. And a lot of this, what we're seeing right now, as far as the Texas rah-rah goes, especially from their fans, is the fact that they went up there and they beat the defending national champions, which is impressive. This is not the same Michigan team. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what how it all kind of unfolds on Saturday. Again, I'm not expecting Oklahoma to go out there and win the game, but I do think it's going to be closer than people think.
Corby, I wanted to ask you from your perspective as somebody that kind of sees it from both sides. I know you're an OU guy, but I'm sure you have a lot of Texas listeners and people that you work with that maybe are Texas folks. There was an interesting question posed to Brent this week. I don't know if you saw his press conference about comparing, OU to Texas and their success. Does that make Brent Venables' job harder? And in turn, if Oklahoma's having a lot of success, does that make, Steve Sarkisian or whoever is the head coach at Texas their job harder? I'm wondering, do you view it that way as an OU guy, and also understanding Texas's side, like the comparison between the two and how maybe that makes one side, because this game means so much to so many people, but also the long term, the success of each program. Like, how do you, I guess, view that? And does that make, when you see Texas have the success that they're having, does that all of a sudden maybe put some more pressure on Brent? You see that kind of with Michigan and Ohio State right now, where Michigan goes and wins a national title. All of a sudden, maybe Ryan Day's seat gets a little bit hotter at Ohio State because they haven't been able to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, look, since I was a kid, coaches at Oklahoma and Texas, their legacies, their careers have been defined by this game and how they do in this game. So yeah, it's real. You've got to beat, depending on which side you're on, you got to beat the other side. And you don't have to do it every year, but you do have to do it semi-consistently. You need to be 500 at the very least. And look, there's no doubt Texas has an Oklahoma problem. They've lost 5 of 6. They've lost, I don't even know what, since the turn of the century, is it 17-8 or something like that? I mean, they have an Oklahoma problem, and I'm not saying that because I'm an Oklahoma guy. I'm saying that because it's real. I mean, if they don't win this year and Sark ends up going 1-3, I get it. Now it's not the be all end all. You can, with the playoff system that's set up, you can lose this game now and it's not a killer. But it's still, between these two schools and the fan bases and the administration and the guys that write the paychecks, this is a huge, huge game. And if Oklahoma can somehow squeeze this one, like get this one, then this is as bad, I think, could be wrong, but this is about as bad of a, I don't want to say team, but one side of the football that Texas is probably going to see over the next decade. I mean, I think we all probably agree with that. So if they can't figure out a way to win this after losing 5 of 6, after the comeback last year when they were a heavy favorite again, after the Caleb game a couple of years ago, and I think that both sides throw out the 49-0 game just because that was the most ridiculous thing any of us have ever seen when you're playing a tight end at quarterback for 90% of the snaps. It's real. Texas needs to win this game more than Oklahoma needs to win this game.
It's incredible when you look at, particularly maybe the last 70-something times they played. I think the number is since 1960, it's 31-2. Obviously, Oklahoma fans and Texas fans can debate if the 1984 game ended in a tie. 5 of the last 6, 11 of the last 15, 17 of the last 25. I think if you would ask an Oklahoma fan about that, it'd be like, there's no way that they've won that many games over that many years, and some of the games that have been so tightly contested as well. Just in terms of like the Cotton Bowl and everything that it is, I asked Kobe McKenzie about this earlier this week. It's like, that's one of the only stadiums that has kind of stood the test of time as everything in the college football world becomes modernized. I don't know if that has anything to do with the actual gameplay on the field, but there is something about this game. It doesn't matter if OU's 0-5 and Texas was 5-0 or vice versa. You kind of just expect it to go into the fourth quarter as a tightly contested game.
Yeah, I know. It is weird, and I think the fans on both sides, it's just so incredibly unique, and I don't think they'll ever move it. I really don't. There was a lot of talk about when Jerry built AT&T Stadium that was going to potentially get moved over there, but both schools have done the right thing, and the city stepped up and they've redone the Cotton Bowl as best they can. They put lipstick on a pig and added more bathrooms and things like that, but it's a dump. Make no mistake about
dump,
it.
Though, right? It's our dump.
Right, it is.
Only OU and Texas fans can call it
our
dump.
But yeah, there's just something so incredibly special about that day and that atmosphere and that field. And I think did I read that when you were talking to Kobe, he said it's all in the dirt.
Yeah.
It's in the 100 years of dirt or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think those guys give a rat's ass that they're underdogs, and I don't think Texas gives a rat's ass. Matter of fact, I'm sure that Sark and every player on that team was like, "Are you effing kidding me? 14 and a come on, man." I mean, they know the drill. They know that, and they know a lot of obviously if you're playing on one of these teams, you're probably recruited by the other.
Sure.
You know half the kids on the other team because you knew them in high school and all-star games and recruiting cycles. It's a really as great as like Auburn, Alabama is, and as great as Ohio State, Michigan is. Um, there is something different about this just because it's played at the midway point at a weird old dilapidated place with a freaking state fair going on 50 feet away from the game. So it's, yeah, there's nothing like it.
Corby, do you have a favorite OU Texas memory, maybe at the game or watching the game somewhere? I mean, what's one that you'll always hold with you?
2000. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it started everything. It restarted the Oklahoma engine. It was freezing. I was supposed to go with my wife, and the night before, um, it started raining and half sleeting, and she's like, "I'm not going to this game," and I'm like, "Oh, that's too bad." Um, so I called my buddy that I work with here at the ticket, Craig Miller. I'm like, "Julie's out. Are you in?" He's like, "I'm in." And it was so freezing before that game. It was an 11 o'clock kick, like most of them are. And I remember we were pretty close to the Oklahoma sideline, and Bosworth was down there. And he had a hold before the game of Rocky Kalmus's face mask, and he was like screaming at him and yanking his face mask back and forth. And Kalmus is like, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." And I'm like, "Holy shit, this is crazy!" And the energy was just off the charts on that Oklahoma sideline, and they just blindsided Texas. So I can't remember what the spread was in that game. I thought Texas may have been favored in that game. Um, but that definitely, and it was so funny. At the time I was, it was 25 years ago, so I was 30 something. I can't remember, but after the game was over with, uh, somebody got on the loudspeaker. If it was the OU president, I can't remember. It was like they canceled school
That's amazing.
like the next day. And I was cheering like I was a student, like, "Oh yeah, no school," and it was such a trip and that whole day. And then, it culminated with that whole year being special. But that game, 100%, no matter what happens the rest of the way. And I thought the Caleb game was very close. The game last year was very close. There've been a handful of them that have been super special, but the 2001 will always be at the top of the list. Plus, I mean, it was just such an ass kicking.
Yeah, it's truly unique too, just in terms of like the last 5 years of this game, really, and even counting the COVID game that was weird for everybody. That obviously wasn't able to attend, but it goes to 4 overtimes, ends up being one of the best games that's ever been played in this rivalry. 2 of the last 3 years with the Caleb game and then the comeback last year, they might be like 2 of the best games that have been played in the 119 times these two teams have already played.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and I think most people thought the same thing when Texas was driving down for the what would have been the winning kick. Well, I thought they were going to run the clock out,
Yeah, if Jacob Lacey doesn't get the sack, the game's Texas probably just straight up wins the game. OU never gets the ball back.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. And then you get the ball back with a minute 15 or whatever it is, and they really hadn't done much in the second half. And so that was, and then it's like freaking Swiss cheese. I mean, it was like the easiest drive ever. And I on my text chain with all my OU friends, they were like, "Do you consider that Sooner magic?" We had this big back and forth I was like, "I don't think I do," because it was a really close game and you just kind of got the ball back and you did what you thought you needed to do. The Caleb game certainly seemed like Sooner magic to me. But yeah, those two, they definitely stand out and they will forever. And that's the thing. I don't know what, typically when these, and I may be wrong, but I feel like when both these teams are good, that Oklahoma has the upper hand historically, dating back to the 70s, when they were both bad in the 90s. And the game really, I mean, kind of sucked because both of them were just god awful. Texas had the upper hand in that, but it traditionally it seems like if something is big is on the line, that Oklahoma has had the upper hand for whatever reason. That doesn't even make sense why, but they have.
It's just unique. Everything about it, everything
It's
about
the
the
best,
weekend.
man.
You know, since the move to the SEC, the last one we get you out of here. Appreciate you joining us. Have you like started paying attention more to the SEC than maybe you would have before? It's still weird to me to like turn everything on and be like, oh yeah, this really affects like OU's conference standings, whether it be Arkansas,
I
Tennessee
know.
last week or any of the games that are out there.
Yeah, I'm not used to it yet at all. I mean, look, I'm as 55-year-old dude, I still kind of hate it because I like the
Yeah.
regional aspect of college football more. And I don't really know, like after the Auburn game, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know anyone that went to Auburn. And I don't know any Auburn fans. So I'm like, where are you? Like, if it was Baylor or TCU or whatever, something like that, I'm rubbing it into a million different people. And it's weird with these schools because yeah, like you get a big win and outside of it being, Texas or Texas A&M, maybe Arkansas down the road, that you don't know many of these people or fan bases, but I guess that's all part of it, and you will eventually, and it'll all seem normal. But yeah, I look, dude, I fucking hate the SEC so much. I've been trained as a human being, as an OU fan, to hate them, everybody, and so I don't have that out of me at
Yeah.
all. I hate everything about the conference, every school, every coach, every fan. I hate it all, and so that's good though, right? Like, I mean, I feel that's a good thing. I'm not going to root for anybody. I don't. This SEC crap, the chant. No, 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 no. I'll never do that. Never.
See, I think that makes you more SEC than anything.
That's more
the
SEC
true
ready,
the true SEC fans are
when
are
we get
that
the
way.
SEC propaganda email each week at the beginning to get the bullet points to throw out there into the universe from Birmingham, we're still having trouble sending, hitting those tweets to get them out. But yeah, we'll carry the banner
Yeah.
as long as we can make money off of it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. It's great for you guys. Look, it's great for everybody involved that's in it. I mean, like we were talking about yesterday on the air, the 11 o'clock, 2:30, 6:30 window now that the SEC has. It's kind of like the NFL almost. And, not every game's going to be great, but
Sure.
you kind of got lucky with the Vandy game this past week. But you kind of get the feel that it's what everybody is watching. So from that aspect of it, can't get any better. I just wish that Oklahoma would have gone into this season with a little bit more of a handle offensively on what they want to do. But hey, I think they pulled the plug at the right time with the quarterback, and so let's just ride it out this year. The expectation level, I don't really have any, like I said earlier, whether it's this game or moving forward, but I think that there's going to be some logical progression. I think I told you this, Eddie. We were texting about it. It almost feels like 2005 when
Sure.
uh, they slowly but surely got better throughout the year, and you felt that moving forward they were in a really good spot. So I think that's probably should be the realistic goal for the OU fandom, is that as the season progresses, you see the offense get better, you see everybody get more comfortable, the defense continues to be the defense, special teams are improved, and that you feel good about things. Even if you lose a handful of games, you feel good about where things are going into 2025.
And the best part about it is if Big Red Sports and Imports wants to give some money to the quarterback, they're more than welcome to. They could get an NIL deal, and nobody will say anything about it. Corby, we appreciate it. It's going to be a fun one, regardless of what the prognosticators say going into it. Hopefully, you has a chance in the fourth quarter. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. As you know, Eddie, I love what you guys do. I'm on the board all the freaking time, anonymously, basically, but I consume it all. You guys do great work.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Corby.
See you this weekend.
All right, boys.
See ya.